Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas, on Sunday, August the 11th, and welcome to our commentary. I want to talk a little bit today about J.D. Vance, Senator J.D. Vance, who I guess spent a lot of this Sunday morning, talking to different media. I saw him with CNN. I just watched the video of his interview with CNN. I guess he was also on Face the Nation. I don't know if he went to the other networks, but I think he did a pretty good job, and I'm beginning to be more and more impressed with J.D. Vance and his ability to communicate a message. When he first became, or when he was first selected by Donald Trump, I really didn't know anything about him. He was not my first choice, as I've indicated before. I was actually supporting Marco Rubio because I've always been very impressed with Marco Rubio, his knowledge of foreign policy, as well as his ability to communicate on television and one-on-one. I didn't know anything about J.D. Vance, but the more I see him, especially in these one-on-one interviews with members of the media, the better he looks. And I have to be very impressed. I was very impressed today with the answers that he gave. He got lots of questions about abortion, which, again, I really don't understand all these questions about abortion. I guess my position about abortion is clear. I think abortion is up to the states, and the people should decide at the state level whatever they want. But the Democrats are really interested in talking about abortion, which is, I think, a distraction, frankly, from what really matters in the country. But nevertheless, I thought he answered the abortion question, the abortion pill question. I thought he answered everything very well in general. He was also engaged a great deal in talking about Governor Walz and his military record. I think he explained that extremely well. He said, look, we're not questioning his record, 25 years or 27 years, whatever it was. We salute that. And that's exactly my feeling. Anybody who wears the uniform, my son, our youngest son, was in the U.S. Army, and he was in the Army like a lot of other young men and young women these days. And I salute him. I salute him as I salute anybody else who wears a uniform. The problem with Governor Walz is not his military service. Again, he gets an A+ for that. A+ for his military service. The problem is that when he came back, he was using a title that he didn't earn. And worse than that, you can see videos, interviews with him, and as well as his participation in committee hearings and all of that, talking about how when he came back from Afghanistan, and in another one, he was talking about this problem that some Afghan veterans are having, and some of these medical problems that they're having. So, here he is pretending he's one of us when he's not one of us. The people who went to Vietnam and the people who went to Iraq are heroes, and many of them didn't come back. But Governor Walsh was not one of them. He didn't go to Iraq. He didn't go to Afghanistan, and he should stop talking about it. So that's the problem with him, and that's exactly what J.D. Vance went through today in that interview. I thought it was a very good interview. Now, the two people, the lady from Face the Nation and the lady from CNN, I think her name is Dana Dash or Vash, they got into a bunch of, what I would call more policy questions, the kinds of things that, frankly, I don't think most Americans are that interested in or care that much about. I really don't think that a lot of Americans who are coming home from shopping for food, or who just got their electricity bill, or who are having a hard time paying their bills, paying their rent. I saw a story today, for example, that the number of credit card delinquencies has gone up significantly. I don't think those people are talking about, whether the abortion pill should be legal or not. I think a lot of those people are talking about more of the day-to-day survival, economic survival, of living in a high inflation economy. So that's where I think sometimes these interviews are more wonky, if that's the right word, policy wonks, where we're talking about a bunch of issues that, matter in Washington, D.C., but I don't think really matter that much when you get out of Washington, D.C., and you start talking to people about their daily lives. That's not what I feel when I talk to people. But I can tell you, every time you talk to people these days, they're complaining about the cost of food. My wife and I go out to eat, and we've been going out to eat for a long time on Sunday afternoons. Usually, once my parents, when my father passed away, for a long time, we used to go to my parents' home every Sunday, and we used to eat there. But after my father passed away and my mother moved in with our sister, then they were not here. So on Sundays, my wife and I started going out to eat for lunch. After mass, we would go out for lunch. And here recently, when I signed that credit card bill, we look at each other and we say, wow, 34, 45, 48. Those numbers, those we didn't pay those numbers a few years ago, but that's what we're paying now. And we're not going out to eat at very fancy restaurants. So this is what people are talking about. And sometimes when you watch these interviews, they sort of get distracted into all these little issues about, the child care credit. And I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm not sure people are talking about that. That's what I'm trying to say, or a lot of these other issues that I think are they're more Washington issues. They're more issues that fascinate the media than I think people in general. That's just my opinion from my experience talking to people. But I think overall he did a good job. President Trump had a press conference as well on Tuesday or Wednesday. I thought he did okay. It's a typical Trump press conference. It goes on too long, but he wanted to give everybody a chance to ask a question. I guess that's okay. And but they went on too long. Sometimes Trump tends to talk too much, but that's his style, and that's the way he's always been, and he's not going to change. But at least he's doing press conferences. I think the question now is, when are Vice President Harris and Governor Walz going to sit down and start answering some questions? And I think specifically Governor Walz, I think he has to answer questions about his military service. Why is he sitting there, talking about his service in Afghanistan without saying something, without at least letting us know that, no, he didn't serve in Afghanistan. That's a mistake. He didn't. Well, he didn't do that. He was going on in these interviews without correcting anything. So he's got some questions to answer there. And I believe the longer they delay it, the worse it's going to get for them. I really believe that. The longer they delay these interviews or these contacts with the media, the more they're going to regret it. That's all I can tell you. I think when you have an issue like Governor Walz and his military service, the quicker you clean that up, the better it's going to be. Well, I got to tell you something, just a little baseball note here as we, the Rangers are 7.5 games back, and they've got like 44, 45 games to go. I guess mathematically they're not eliminated, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for them to win their division and potentially get into a wild card situation. So I'm not writing them off yet, because I still think they have the talent to go on a good run and maybe get back in it. But what a shame, you win the World Series last year and then you come back and you don't win it. What a shame. I think it's quite a letdown. I think for a lot of us who thought at the very least, they would be competitive as we go to the end of the season. They may still be. I'm not going to write them off. I remember back in 2015, the Rangers were under 500 at this point and got hot and ended up winning the division. So it can happen. It can happen. But man, what a letdown after winning the World Series, having to deal with a situation like this. It's kind of nasty. Well, I got to tell you a little story here to end our video today. It was on this day in 1984, so that would mean 40 years ago, that President Reagan was getting ready to do his Saturday morning speech. For a long time, President Reagan, I don't know if the other presidents did this, but President Reagan was really good at this. He would do like a Saturday morning radio commentary or something. And, right from the Oval Office or from wherever he was, he would read us, do a little radio. Of course, he was a radio broadcaster, way before he went into the movies, and he was always very good on the radio. He was a fantastic radio broadcaster. And anyway, he's sitting there tapping on the microphone, doing the microphone checks and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, testing or whatever. He says, I'm signing an executive order, and we are going to eliminate Russia. So the bombs are on the way. It's hilarious. It's hilarious the way he did it. And, everybody had a big laughter about it. And, I think the Russians were freaking out, but, trust me, he was joking about it. And of course, the Democrats had a big fit. They couldn't understand, how can you joke around something like this? Well, that's sometimes you got to laugh a little bit. You got to laugh a little bit, enjoy life a little bit. And that day, that's what Reagan was doing. He was just having a good time. And anyway, so it was 40 years ago today. And I remember that. I remember that because it was the talk of the town. Oh, my God, Reagan is so reckless. He's going to take us to war. Well, no, he didn't take us to war. And he was actually a pretty effective president, as it turned out, Ronald Reagan. Thank you for listening. Everybody have a great weekend. This is Silvio Canto, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye, everybody.